friends. No matter how many times I see it, I continue to be amazed. What am I amazed about, you ask? I am amazed at how pretty much everything in life comes full circle at some point. And as usual, my video blog this month comes with a story. Last month, I spoke at length about my book and how it had reached the final working draft stage. Since then, the book has continued to be pretty much my entire life. And I mean that in every possible way. It is a book about my life. And right now, it literally is my life. I have been reading it so thoroughly and so densely, going over it again and again, that at this point, I feel like I could probably recite most of it in my sleep. Which for someone with my memory, that's saying quite a bit. Last week, something happened that I just have to share with you. I was sitting at my favorite coffee shop here in Chicago, Pete's Coffee. It was a warm summer afternoon, so I had my usual vanilla latte with almond milk. I'm one of those iced when it's hot or even warm outside and hot when it's cold. So this one was the iced version. This trip to Pete's was a special one. I was finishing up my first complete read of the final draft of the manuscript, cover to cover, beginning to end, the whole thing. And when I turned that last page, I just sat there, tears streaming down my face. I was completely overwhelmed by emotion. I have to say, I felt a little bit weird sitting in a coffee shop feeling all those feelings, but I felt absolutely no shame, no sense of shame about it. In that moment, I got to experience my entire life, all at once, in an instant. Every story, every memory, every loss, every triumph, every cookie, every bike ride, every person I have ever loved. All of it right there at a table at Pete's Coffee House on a summer afternoon. And the first thing I wanted to do was share it with someone. The person I wanted to share it with was Jim. Because Jim and I have been so completely intertwined during every single step of this project that even though he was somewhere completely different in that moment, it was as if he was sitting right there at the table having coffee with me. I sent him a message, and he was there, just like he always has been. And that felt right. And it also felt right that the place where I had this moment was at my favorite hangout for just these such experiences, at Pete's. Because as it turns out, the story of Pete's Coffee is a story that comes full circle, just like mine. Pete's was founded back in 1966 by a Dutch immigrant named Alfred Peet in Berkeley, California. He intentionally spelled the name P-E-E-T '(S) instead of the more common P-E-T-E '(S) because it was his last name. His story, and he wanted it to look exactly the way it was supposed to look. I've got to say, I love that detail. Alfred grew Pete's into a beloved and successful Berkeley coffee shop. But the really interesting part of the story is what he is probably most famous for. He is most famous for not being famous before he eventually became famous. Here's what I mean by that. The three primary founders of Starbucks were mentored by Alfred Peet, and Alfred, being the generous and unselfish soul that he was, lovingly shared his secrets with those upstart founders. He gave them explicit permission to copy his storefront, his dark roasted European coffee recipe, and many other aspects of his business, because he genuinely saw the value in mentoring others to grow something that he was passionate about. He even roasted the beans for Starbucks in its earliest years, And then in 1973, he did what every good mentor eventually does. He pushed them out of the nest. He told them it was time to start doing it themselves. It was as if the mama bird finally said, it's time to fledge. And then the story comes all the way full circle in 1984 when Jerry Baldwin, one of those 3 original Starbucks founders, left Starbucks to purchase Peet's and grow it into what it has become today. When I think about all of that, I just cannot stop thinking about how unselfish it all was. In a world where it seems like people hold their trade secrets and their intellectual property so tightly, afraid that someone might steal their creativity or their competitive edge, isn't it just refreshing to hear a story about someone who was happy to share his own experience and his own story in a way that inspired others to go out and do their own thing? Alfred Peet didn't protect his secrets. He passed them forward. And in doing so, he helped build something that now reaches millions of people every single day. I don't know that I'm going to found a chain of something, but in my way, that is exactly what I hope my stories do. I hope when you read Ride of My Life, something in it inspires you to tell your own story, to share your own experience, your own secrets, your own ride through life. Because the world needs your stories just as much as it needs mine. And who knows? Maybe one day someone you inspire will do the same for someone else. And the whole beautiful thing will just keep going on. Just like a good cup of coffee, it is best when it is shared. Well, that's it for this month, my friends. The publishing journey continues. I will keep you posted every step of the way. Ciao, ciao for now.